how they hypnotize. Where did you get those eyes? Where did you get those eyes? Hey everybody, Tony Winston here, trying to get my poor weak voice back into shape. And there's nothing more inspiring than Tony Bennett. He's just electrifying when he goes for those notes. Anyway, this is a song called Jeepers Creepers, Johnny Mercer, it's a Georgia lyricist, and Harry Warren, a great composer. And I'm going to cover this song in a kind of a different way than I'm used to doing. A lot of folks out there are playing solo gigs, left hand playing a bass line. Maybe the keyboard is split so the left hand is playing a bass sound and the right hand is on the piano or something like that. And so you got to do most of the stuff in your right hand. If you're playing a bass note, you can't really do much to put a chord in there, you know, you just got to play a single note. So the right hand's got to cover everything. Now, I have two charts, okay, and I'm going to reprint both of them. They'll be down in the description, absolutely free, just like everything. And one of them is out of this book, all right? This is a beginner's book that I've used to teach beginners. It's out of print now, but, you know, little kids, 6, 7 years old that come in. And it's got Jeepers Creepers as the very first song. And, of course, you know, it's real simple. And there's a little piano accompaniment that goes with it. Goes like a like that, and you could probably put both parts together and get a nice little arrangement, and it doesn't even have the whole song. But for any of you piano teachers out there, you might be interested in that. The other version I found online, I couldn't find it in any of my fake books, but it's like the real book, Volume 5 or something. I didn't know they had all those volumes. I have 1, 2, and 3. I don't have 5. But anyway, there it is on page 231, and I just copied it off the screen. And so what we're going to do, we're just going to look at, you know, how to voice the chords up here in the right hand so that the melody is on top, and then all the left hand's going to do is play a single note for the bass line. And a lot of the voicings that we'll use you might recognize from, you know, playing rootless voicings with your left hand. You know, I always think of things, you know, from like the approach of like being in a trio. You have a bass player and a drummer, so you don't have to play bass notes. But that's not the way it is in the real world. Sometimes you got to do everything yourself. So let's do it. All right. So we got C minor, and we're just going to use this chart because it's in the key of B flat. Now, I was asked to do this song in the key of A flat. That's where Mel Tormé does it. And I'm going to do a little bit about his version of it as well. But I don't have a chart that's down in his key, so you'll have to transpose everything down. And I will talk about Mel Tormé a little bit and some of his, what makes him really unique. Bass note, and we need a C minor, and we need a 7th. That little dash means minor, and then the melody is up there, and there's a typical rootless voicing for a C minor. And then for F7, we just change one note, like that, and then the melody note has changed, so I got to do that too. So, all right, I'm going to go real slow at first because I'm not using chordy today, so I'll give you every note here. B flat 6. All right, and I think it should have another chord here like G7. All right, a little rough sounding, but now also I noticed on the Mel Tormé version they don't start with a minor chord; they start with a dominant chord. So it sounds just as good that way. Have a 6 in it, but how about just with a major 7? Sounds just fine. And our G could be G minor 7th. Just gives it a little more motion there, that's all. think that sounds better to move both of these notes down like that. It gives it a little more harmony. Now right here we've got a rest, so we'll just hit C like that. Now here it says F7, but you know, an F7's got an A in it like this. Right? Right? And there's the melody note, so we can't really play that A. We've got to play it like this. And then the A. Alright, that's way too much time on just one line of this song, so we're not going to go through the whole thing, but let me do it one more time. And here, I went to F in the bass, because if you have a whole measure or something, you usually play the root and then the fifth. Alright, next line. Dominant chord maybe? Reharm there. A flat 7 and then G7 like that. Heard it on the Mel Tormé version. Okay. Now we get to the bridge. Once again here we've got a big chord. But you don't have to do all of that. You could just play the top half of it. Now, you can't quite tell if it's major or minor because it doesn't have the third. But maybe we put it in. Yeah, like that maybe. Melody note. Look at this rootless voicing. Right? Something like that maybe. F minor. Same voicing. It's A flat. C, optional on the C. Gotta have the third of the chord there, that's B flat. So those three notes, or with the C. See? Those three. Same thing up here. Top half of the chord, right? We don't have a third. That might be okay though. All right, same rootless voicing. All right, and then the last verse, pretty much the same, except for one little thing. Change right there at the end. It's a little tag right there on that G7. Put the flat 9 in. Whenever you can, put the flat 9 in on a jazz song. Right? Even on the F7 there. Even on the B flat, you can do it. Alright. Alright. Let's talk a little bit about Mel Tormé. Let me pull up his video just for a second. I can only play a few seconds of this, of course. Okay, so this is some basic stuff you got to know. All right, that's a typical kind of count bassy thing, you know. You can have a pedal tone. Do that. But these two notes you're holding down, those you're moving up chromatically. So bang on that E flat a little bit.
Jeepers creepers, where'd you get those peepers?
Where'd you get those people? It's old vocal style. Where'd you get those people? Dean Martin does it all the time. This was recorded, I think, when I was 1 year old. What year was it again?
Jeepers creepers, where did you get those eyes? God.
December 15th, 1954. That's approximately 3 weeks before my birth.
I shall get up, how'd they get so...
So, he goes through the chords. It's down in A flat, so the first chord's a B flat. It's not a minor. They use a dominant seventh almost every time. There's usually a little F minor in there or something to kind of keep it moving along. Right. Go to that F minor. Right. Second verse, same thing, except for one little difference.
How'd they get that size? Golly gee.
I figured that out earlier, but just imagine singing that. Golly gee, when you put those cheaters on.
When you turn those heaters on.
When you turn those heaters on. Golly gee, I gotta put my cheaters on. All right. In other words, she's so beautiful, he can't look at anybody else. So, when you have a horse, they sometimes put little blinders, and they call them cheaters, I think.
Woe is me, got to put my cheaters on.
Later on, it goes, got to put my cheaters on. Got to put my cheaters on. I'm singing the notes, but he hits them precisely, like he's playing the clarinet or something. And that's the solo instrument. So, back in 1954, people don't realize this, but for a while, the clarinet was like the instrument, Now it's like the electric guitar or something like that. It was trombone for a while, like for Tommy Dorsey. That was like, everybody wanted to hear the trombone. And trumpet, of course, was big back in Louis Armstrong's days. But then, we got Glenn Miller, and for a while, the clarinet was the thing. So let me go back to the other version with Tony Bennett, because there's some really nice piano stuff done by the one and only William Jefferson Basie. Was that his name? Count Basie.
Where did you get those eyes?
All right, so now these notes actually come from the G minor scale, G minor blues scale, but we're in B flat, so let's just think of it as a B flat blues scale. Got the sixth and the fifth, both the minor third and the major third, and just goes right down. Let's see what else he does. I know he does this. So it's like the pentatonic scale. Alright, that's B flat pentatonic. But it's bluesy, so we gotta put that in. And when we put that in, we have a blues scale. And you could think of it as G minor blues scale, or even G major blues scale. Alright, same notes. It sounds completely different though, as if you're up here on B flat. Alright, so it's stuff on that. Listen to Count Basie play and you'll pick it up right away.
Get those
The first one, it goes something like that. Next time, something just like that. And then it goes. great scale, but you know, we're in B flat, so blues has those 3 notes in the actual B flat blues scale, which you could also use as a D flat blues scale. So you know, you want to mix those 2 scales up together, and then really, you know, real improvisers, I don't think really think that much about those 2 blues scales. They just have these little melodic ideas in their head. That's a great interval there too, from, you know, if you're playing blues. One more little thing about Mel Tormé. You gotta remember, Mel Tormé, he can play piano, he can play the drums, he can arrange music for a big band. He's a very talented guy. He can sing great. He was a real ladies' man, from what I understand. But you know, he never had that really sexy sound like Sinatra or Tony Bennett even. His sound is you know, it's a little, you know, they call him the Velvet Fog. It's very smooth and not quite as masculine, I guess, as those other guys. But man, he's got talent. You want to hear some scat singing? I mean, Ella Fitzgerald and Mel Tormé are like the 2 greatest. There's nobody better. So what Mel Tormé did was, and you know, singers nowadays should think about trying to do this. He comes back in with the verse, but he changes everything around. He changes the chord progression, he changes the lyrics. I don't know where he got this. I think he just wrote it. I think he just made it up.
You're the talk of every guy in town, and when they see you traveling right on down.
So it's like his own little verse here. And it's kind of like, it does that twice. Then he follows the regular chord progression. I think. And then he does another little chord progression of C, F, B flat, E flat. Does that twice.
You've got a pair of baby blues, seem to.
Does that, I think. Does that twice.
Be making headline news, but you better not bring them down.
But bring him down. He kind of stops on that B flat.
I gotta keep my temperature down.
And then he goes, gotta keep my temperature down. So it's the same length as the 2A sections. Then he goes into the bridge again.
Oh golly gee, when you turn the heaters.
When you turn, all those are on offbeats. This is what jazz singing is all about. It's about the rhythm, you know, playing some of this, you know, kind of improvisation, like what a sax player might play there. But it's about the rhythm.
Woe is me, I got to put my cheaters on.
I got to put my cheaters on. All right, and listen to the phrasing here. Instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's more like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Boom. Check it out. Back it up just a little bit. Woe is me,
I got to put my cheaters on. Jeepers creepers, where'd you get those creepers? Oh, those sweet.
Check that out.
My cheaters on. Jeepers creepers, where'd you get those creepers?
Yes. So Jeepers creepers, where'd you get those peepers?
Where did you get those eyes?
See, he just doesn't have that electricity and that, I don't know, testosterone, for the lack of a better word, like Tony Bennett has when he gets to the end. He says, ooh, sings up there high in his soprano voice. And then kind of like a Count Basie riff in there. You know, ends like that. And like I say, he's the musician. When Marty Paich wrote an album called Swingin' Schubert's Alley, it's very complicated music with lots of quotes of other songs and lots of little sections like this that they just wrote to insert into these songs. And then he tried, Marty Paich, great arranger, tried to write a similar album for Sammy Davis. And Sammy, also hugely talented, but is not really the musician that Mel Tormé was in terms of being able to deal with some real complex harmonies and complex melodies. Maybe he just didn't have the time to do it, I don't know. But the album is a little simpler, and it's called The Wham of Sam, and it's great. One of these days I want to get more into Marty Paich, who's the father of David Paich of the group, is it Toto, I think? A great musical family, obviously, and his arranging has always been some of my favorite stuff. So, arranged for a lot of people. A little bit for Frank Sinatra, Barbra Streisand, but a whole lot for Mel Tormé, and a lot of other people too. I mean, he's a very accomplished arranger, or was, and I even have a few of his charts that I managed to find online, but if anybody can find those charts to Swingin' Schubert Alley, I'd love to have them. I'd pay for them. And I've done what you call as a lift, where I've taken what I could hear off the record and written it out for a slightly smaller band. His was like an 8-piece horn section, and I just had 6 horns. But anyway, I'm yammering on. Enjoy the chart. Thank you for the request out there, whoever made it. And yeah, see you on the next one.